Welcome to WrestleHook. My name is Brennan, and in today's video, I'm going to be predicting every single pay-per-view main event for the rest of 2024 in AEW. Lately, AEW has decided sometimes to advertise 2 main events, 3 main events, so if you see that, mind your business. For the most part, though, I'm going to try to keep it to 1 per show, unless I need to do a second one. And we're going to get right into it with Forbidden Door, but before I do that, please remember to like the video and leave a comment with what you think. With Forbidden Door, I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. It's got to be Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. I've loved this build so far. There's been some really incredible angles the last couple of weeks. A great talking segment. The week before was a great segment in itself without talking, which included Ospreay hitting the Swerve Stomp right in front of Swerve. So for this one, it has to be the World Championship. I think in some cases, you can get away with not having the World Champion main event. But for Swerve, this is his biggest match so far. And I think a lot of the criticism going into it, it's funny because at first when the match was announced, it started out very much criticizing the fact that they're going to move on from Swerve so fast for Will Ospreay. Now here's the deal. I think Swerve's winning. Swerve's going to defend this championship. There might be some Don Callis involvement here, leading to some kind of wacky finish, or it may just be because Ospreay's too hesitant to hit the Tiger Driver 97. But either way, Swerve's going to win, and that's going to be the main event at the end of June. The next pay-per-view is going to be All In, but because of that, I'm going to predict the Owen Hart Cup Finals. I'm going to start with the women's tournament. And I think to look at the women's finals, you first have to look at the semifinals a little bit. Now, Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander is a huge matchup to have it in the semifinals of this tournament, and I'm really excited about it because that really adds a lot of excitement for me, a lot of reason to invest in this tournament. Because I think when you looked at this tournament, it was pretty obvious from the start that Mariah May was likely going to win. So to me, this is one of the most exciting matchups in the whole tournament in this semifinal round between Willow and Chris. And I was thinking about, who is going to go over in this scenario? My first thought was Willow should probably win on the path to getting her match against Mercedes for the TBS Championship back. But after thinking about it a little bit longer, I think Chris Statlander fits better as the winner here. So my final for the women's side is going to be Chris Statlander versus Mariah May. You could have Chris cheat to win, do something very awful to Willow, and you kind of set up another big match between Willow and Chris, where Willow can finally get her win back over Chris on the path to the TBS Championship. And on the men's side, I think that the final is going to be Bryan Danielson versus the wild card, who we don't know who it is yet, but Hangman Adam Page. When Danielson cut his promo about wanting to win this tournament so he can get the championship, he really tricked a lot of us, including me for a second. I was thinking, man, he's got to win this now, right? But he does this every single cycle for a pay-per-view. Every time he gets a championship match, he convinces me that he's going to win it. But I know he doesn't want to win it. I know. So for that reason, Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson is set up, with the winner challenging for the championship at Wembley. The main event of All In 2024 is going to be Swerve Strickland, the AEW champion, defending against Hangman Adam Page, his biggest rival in AEW. To be honest, this one was really hard to pick because on one hand, I thought you probably want an original main event, something people have never seen before for your biggest show of the year. But at the same time, when you think about Swerve and his biggest matchups and his biggest moments in AEW, those have come against Hangman. Also, if you're doing a matchup you've seen 3 times already, as a booker, I kind of think if I'm doing that match, I should be doing something conclusive or something drastic, something really interesting to build to the next part of the story. The first matchup was a pretty fascinating one back at Full Gear 2023, where Swerve beat Hangman due to a little bit of help from Prince Nana on the outside. And I found this pretty interesting because, at the same time as this, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho were about to tag against the Young Bucks. Hangman didn't really have any friends out there that could help him during a time where there's a ref bump or something like that. And Swerve capitalized on the moment by using Prince Nana to get the win. The second one was a bloody death match, one of my favorite death matches I've ever seen on AEW. And Swerve again came away with the win, which would kind of lead you to believe, wow, like if they're doing a third match, Hangman's obviously got to get the win over him. Their third match was a number 1 contender match to challenge Samoa Joe for the championship, which ended up going to a time limit draw before it was over. So looking at that and considering all the things we know right now about their stories of their past matches and the stories going on right now, I'm actually going to have Hangman Page beat Swerve Strickland at All In for the championship. Swerve just said recently on TV against Will Ospreay, I have no friends left. All my friends I had to bury because I have the pressure of being the world's champion. Now, Going into this match, Hangman Page, I believe, will be aligned with the Elite. And in some way, Swerve is going to get screwed out of the World Championship, which would be a build of Swerve's feud against the Elite, which is obviously going to pick up more as we get into Blood and Guts. The other two semi-main events I have for All In are going to be Will Ospreay versus MJF, which we saw a little bit of a teaser of already on Dynamite. And for the Women's Championship, the story we've been telling for a very long time, Mariah May versus Toni Storm. Next is going to be All Out, where I have Hangman Adam Page defending his championship against Will Ospreay. Now, in this scenario, Will Ospreay is coming off a big win. He has been waiting in the wings, waiting for his next opportunity at the world title after narrowly losing to Swerve Strickland back at Forbidden Door. As it was last year with All Out, the proximity to All In makes it a little bit difficult, but in this scenario, I think it makes a lot of sense because over the summer, we already are anticipating Blood and Guts, maybe including Will Ospreay, and Will Ospreay and the Elite will have already bumped heads quite a few times. So this natural matchup between Hangman and Will Ospreay is not that difficult to get to, even in just a couple of weeks of a build. At the end, Ospreay and Hangman, Ospreay finally does it. For the first time since he did it to Bryan Danielson, he hits the Tiger Driver 97. He has to do it to win the championship. He does not want to hesitate like he did against Swerve when he lost at All In. Ospreay goes for the cover. You hear the crowd chanting 1, 2, ding, 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 ding. It's a time limit draw. Now, this finish is exactly what happened to Swerve against Hangman. They were fighting for number 1 contendership for Samoa Joe's championship. However, this time, Ospreay gets on the mic and he says, 5 more minutes, bruv. Something along those lines. But he incapacitated Hangman Page. Hangman cannot get up. The Elite come to the ring. They're putting Hangman on a stretcher. They're wheeling him out. They're looking at Ospreay like he's a monster for doing that to Hangman. But the result remains the same. Hangman is still the champion. Now, usually I shy away from triple threats and main events. But here we got a triple threat world championship match. It's Hangman Adam Page defending against Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. This is box office. This is huge. This is the biggest story they could possibly do with what's already set up on the television. Swerve and Hangman obviously still have their beef. And at this point, Swerve has never been more irate at Hangman because he stole his championship and he's finally getting his hands on a rematch. Ospreay was half a second away from winning the championship, but Ospreay screwed himself by hitting that Tiger Driver. Now, of course, maybe Hangman would have refused the rematch anyways, or the 5 additional minutes, but the reality is Will cannot get over that he finally pulled that move out, and it costed him his chance at the title, and he is not going to take this opportunity for granted. Swerve knows too that, look, that edge he said Will didn't have anymore, he pulled out. He pulled that move out that he said he would never do again. And Swerve saw that right in front of his eyes, and he knows that if he doesn't hesitate this time, Ospreay could pin me for my title, and I can't let that happen. And the fact I'm giving this away on free TV is awesome. So great props to me on Booker of the Year. The result of this match, I'm not sure how you get there, but the reality is Swerve gets it done. I do know that I want Swerve to pin Hangman though, not Ospreay, because I think that rematch is going to happen down the line. One thing I do know though about this match is I want this to be a Avengers Endgame kind of deal, because at some point you have to blow off this Elite versus AEW storyline, and it should be at a big moment. So at this match at Grand Slam, in my head I'm thinking the Elite's getting involved because it's a triple threat. You can play around without having any DQs. So the Elite kind of get involved a little bit. Maybe a spot for FTR to return. Maybe Daniel Garcia. Some of these guys that have been mixed up in the mix along Blood and Guts, Anarchy in the Arena. Darby Allin may throw some hands. But also, I want this to be the return of Kenny Omega. Now, I'm not sure if he will be healthy by then, but I'm going to say he returns here. Him and Okada have a huge moment during this match, which is obviously alluding to the next main event. So at WrestleDream, I have the main event, Kazuchika Okada, Kenny Omega, the biggest rubber match you can have, the biggest match in wrestling, as the WrestleDream main event. I think this is a perfect type of show for it. Obviously, this should be an all-in main event if Kenny Omega is healthy by all-in, but if he's not and he comes back a little bit later, how can you wait any longer to do this match than a show that was dedicated to Inoki last year? So I think this should be the place to do it. This is the biggest main event you can do, but I'll also do a second main event for you. Swerve just got his title back. It's not to be overshadowed, but Swerve's match here is going to be against Bryan Danielson. Now, thinking about this match, this is in Tacoma, Washington. You have two Washington boys here with Swerve and Bryan Danielson. What better place to do this match than the West Coast? So that's going to be the championship match. I'm going to have Swerve getting it done. I think Danielson would rather do a million things than win a championship here. And Swerve's going to get this win over Danielson. It's going to be a very big signature win for him. But yeah, two big main events for WrestleDream. Now, by Full Gear in November, we're back in New Jersey, and what better time to bring in an MJF challenge than Full Gear? So it's going to be MJF challenging Swerve Strickland for the championship. I'm having Swerve go over again. This is the big reign for Swerve. Now, I think a lot of times people can kind of get a little bit overhyped. They care too much about that first reign, thinking, oh man, if Swerve drops the title to Hangman in the fall, this whole thing is ruined. But the reality is, this is a prolonged story here, and signature win after signature win. I think Swerve's going to come out of this looking like $1,000,000 at this point. So it'll be a heel-leaning MJF versus babyface Swerve. This match is going to be incredible, and Swerve is going to go over. And at World's End, I'm just going to have Mox versus Swerve. I'm going to hold off on Ospreay, but I do think Ospreay is the one that actually is going to take this belt off of Swerve sometime in 2025. I'm going to hold it off for a bit. I already had the title change with Hangman a little bit just to buy us some time with the stories, to give him a little bit of a chase, a little bit of story development. But I do think that the next long reigning champion is going to be Will Ospreay. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please like the video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Am I way off base? Am I right on track? I'm not sure. I also recognize this video got a lot into basically just Swerve Strickland fantasy booking, but I want to see Swerve have a memorable reign. This is the best I can come up with in predicting the future, and also doing a little fantasy booking in my head. If you're looking for wrestling content that'll get you hooked, you have to look no further than WrestleHook. Thank you as always for your time. Have a great night.